Welcome back, all my YouTube subscribers, Twitter followers, all the big football fans out there. Today we are going to be previewing the most important position on a football field. We're going to be previewing the man from Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins. Now, if the Giants go ahead and decide to take a Haskins, if they decide to take a lock with this year's first-round pick, I wouldn't blame them. It is a clear need at the position. But they better do their due diligence, and they better be all in, because if you miss with a quarterback with a top 10 pick, it is going to set your franchise back 3 to 4 years. So if you're taking a quarterback with a top 10 pick, he better be your man. He better be a guy that you think you can rely on for the next 15 years. Now, it's no secret coming into this year's draft that one of the Giants' biggest needs is going to be the quarterback position. After all, Eli Manning isn't getting any younger. He's 38 years old, and we all know that he's on his last legs. The question is, do you take the quarterback in this year's draft or the following year's draft? Going into the last week of the season, the Giants currently hold the 7th overall pick, tied with the Buffalo Bills. So we don't know exactly where they're going to fall, but they're going to fall anywhere between like 6 and 10 based on the last week of the season. There's probably only 2, maybe 3 teams that could possibly take a quarterback out of the Giants, because a lot of the teams out of them already have their current quarterback or future quarterback that they may have drafted in last year's draft. With the big news on Herbert saying that he's going to stay at Oregon for 1 more year, there's really only 2 quarterbacks that the Giants could possibly take that early in the draft, and that would be Locke and the man that we're about to preview, Dwayne Haskins. Perhaps one of the things I like most about Haskins is that he's a homegrown kid. Before he went and moved to Maryland to play high school football, he's originally from Highland Park, New Jersey, and he grew up a New York Giants fan. Coming out of high school, Dwayne Haskins was a 4-star recruit, and he was the 5th highest rated quarterback in the entire country. But Urban Meyer saw a lot more than that in him. He said that for his age, he was the best quarterback Urban Meyer had ever laid his eyes on. And that's high praise coming from one of the best coaches in college football, and especially a coach that has coached some of the quarterbacks the caliber that he has. This man coached Alex Smith in his Utah days. He coached Tim Tebow, who's one of the best quarterbacks ever in college football history. And, of course, he recruited Cam Newton. Haskins stands at 6'3", 220 pounds, so he has the ideal size that most scouts look for a quarterback to succeed at the NFL level. I've seen a lot of experts compare Haskins to different quarterbacks at the NFL level. I've seen Jared Goff, I've seen Teddy Bridgewater, I even saw Todd McShay compare him to Alex Smith, which I don't really see, to be honest. The only thing that I see that is a resemblance is that they both played for the same coach in Urban Meyer, and they both played in the same system, the spread offense. But other than that, I don't see much of a resemblance. The quarterback that I think he most resembles is actually Ben Roethlisberger, because of his big frame and his ability to escape oncoming pass rushers. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Big Ben, but when I watch him play, that's who he reminds me of. Now, even though I wouldn't consider Dwayne Haskins a running quarterback, he's not exactly fleet of foot, he definitely has some athleticism and some experience running the RPO, which would be especially dangerous with Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Haskins certainly has a lot of the attributes that you look for in an NFL quarterback. He has a quick release, he has ideal arm strength, he has the ability to escape the pocket, but perhaps the most important attribute that I see in his game, the thing that I like the most, is his willingness to take that hit, his willingness to stay in the pocket and wait for the play to develop. One of the knocks that you hear on Haskins is the system that he plays in at the collegiate level, of course run by Urban Meyer, and it's probably a big reason why Urban Meyer hasn't gotten a pro coaching job. The system that he runs, the spread offense, is not conducive to the NFL. It's a quick read offense, it's a lot of screen passes, and it doesn't really require the quarterback to look at his second, his third, his fourth option. What the system calls for generally is for the quarterback to get the ball out as quickly as possible to his first read. And you saw it a lot in the Penn State game. In that game, Haskins threw for about 270 yards. 230 of it were yak yards, yards after catch. He threw a ton of screens in that game, and that is one thing that you hear a lot about Haskins. And another thing that people say about Haskins is that he has 2 very dynamic weapons. He has 2 wide receivers on that team that a lot of people say make his job easier, and it's a fair criticism. KJ Hill and Paris Campbell are 2 of the best wide receivers in the country. Paris Campbell led all wide receivers in the Power 5 conferences in yards after catch. He averaged 13 yards per catch in yak. That's ridiculous. But one thing I will say about Haskins, even though he does receive a lot of criticism with the short throws, when he does decide to chuck it deep, even though it is few and far between, he is incredibly accurate. He threw 17 touchdowns this year on throws that were over 20 yards in the air. Dwayne Haskins' signature game this year was the game, of course, against the Michigan Wolverines, and it saw him soar up draft charts, and for good reason. That defense has 7 players that are projected to play in the NFL someday. Before that contest, Michigan's defense was incredible. They had only surrendered 149 points in their first 11 contests, or roughly 13.5 points a game, and only 7 touchdowns through the air. Haskins lit them up. He hit them for 6 touchdown passes and he threw for 396 yards. Coming into that game, they were only surrendered about 130 yards in the air per contest. Of course, we still have some evaluating to do. He has a big game coming up in the Rose Bowl, and of course, we have the NFL Draft Combine. I fully expect him to come out this year because, well, to be quite honest, I don't think he could top this year, and that's not a knock on Haskins. It's because those two dynamic wide receivers are coming out to the NFL draft. So without those two, I don't expect him to throw 47 touchdowns next year. So I think it would be in Haskins' best interest, especially with the incoming quarterback class in 2020, to come out this year, and I fully expect him to do that. So to me, Haskins checks off a ton of boxes. He has the arm strength, he has the accuracy, and he has the mobility to extend plays, which is very important in today's NFL, and the experience in the RPO, which I do like that dynamic to add to the Giants' offense, of course, with Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Now, the knocks, of course, are his inexperience. He's only played 13 starts at the collegiate level, and he plays in a college-style offense, which is not conducive to the pros. So those are the knocks. Overall, I like the kid, and if the Giants feel confident in taking this kid, I will get fully behind it. I see the upside in Dwayne Haskins, and I think he could be an upper echelon starter at the NFL level. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give the entertainer a little thumbs up. Please drop your suggestions in the comments below. Tell me who you want me to preview next. As always, cheers.